Okay. Welcome to my channel. My name is Van. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, thank you so much for coming back. Today I'm just going to talk about PNES, psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. That's my dog Blue. He's not going to talk about anything, but he will move around quite a bit. But I'm going to talk about psychogenic non-epileptic seizures today. I'm gonna do it in a couple parts because I don't want to mix my experience in too much to get like off topic. So I have something set up on the computer here to kind of keep me where I need to be. So today, like I said, I want to discuss psychogenic non-epileptic seizures. What are they? They aren't caused by epilepsy. I am someone who suffers from epilepsy as well. Last year I had a brain surgery. If you're interested in hearing about that, there are videos about that, but this is not epilepsy. These seizures and other bodily functions that happen during PNES episodes are not due to electrical misfirings in the brain. Instead, it is the nervous system reacting to stress, to trauma, to strong emotions. I'm someone who carried those stress, traumas, and strong emotions very deeply inside me because I didn't feel safe sharing it with those around me. And I know that there are people out there right now who, when they look around the room while they're watching this video, they don't see a person around them that they feel safe sharing their trauma with. And that is why the body is holding it. The body is the bottle. Your body is, when PNES comes to light, it's really your body like having an alarm system. The fire alarm is going off and telling you, I'm overwhelmed. I don't know what to do with this overwhelm. And so we start to have tics or shake or do other movements that we are not giving permission to of our body to do. I know for me, one of my tics that is most prevalent is that my neck does this thing. It's like, all of a sudden I have this feeling inside that says like your neck must move. It has to do the thing. Like it's almost like when you have an itch on your back, like immediately you don't even think about it. Your back itches and you go up, and then you're thinking, oh, I'm scratching my back. It's similar to that, where the movement, your brain is doing the movement, telling your body to do the movement without you giving consent. But with that said, like your body is holding on to the stress, and then when it doesn't know what to do with it, it expresses it through the movements. It needs to somewhere to go. And for some of us, it comes out as a tic or a seizure-like episode. One of the things that I want to say that I think is most important and that tripped me up in the very beginning is this is not your fault. This is not your fault. You are not doing these movements on purpose. You might think, and others around you might think, that these movements are being done, psychologically you're thinking, move your arm, and then you move your arm. Or you're thinking, if I do this movement, whatever, that is not what's happening. The body is doing the action and the mind is catching it after the fact. But with that said, we do, after some practice, find some control. And I say that from a personal experience. I am not a professional. I have never been a professional in psychogenic seizures, in neurology, in any of that. This is only learned through my own personal experience. With that said, what works for me might not work for you, and that is okay. So, back to PNES in general. Since tics are the body's way of handling stress, what we need to do then is address the stress, right? We're not going to try to retrain the tics. We don't need to try to hold ourselves real tight when the tics are telling us to move. That is the stress trying to come out. So what do we do instead? How else can we express that stress? This is something that I've been dealing with for an entire year. I know that when I am talking about it, it seems easy, it seems airy, it seems light. No, I have been working for this for over 12 months. For me to find the control of my body that I have today. And when I say that, I still have seizures. I still have tics. Last night, I had a full body episode. Now, 12 months ago, my full body episodes lasted 30 minutes. I couldn't stop. I couldn't get it. But now, because I understand what is triggering these episodes and that my body feels unsafe. My body is feeling stress of magnitudes where it feels like it is fight or flight. Then I have to do practices to bring my body out. What does that look like? What does that look like? I know that for me, one of the things that my partner has introduced to me is breathing exercises. Now, don't get me wrong. I've heard about breathing exercises before PNES. I have practiced yoga as just like a fun little thing. And, the breathing and making sure that you're paying attention to the breath is very important in meditation and in yoga. And I have done those things. However, when you are having a PNES episode, it is very similar to a panic attack. The body is in fight or flight. How do we escape fight or flight? We have to bring ourselves out. We have to do it through an exercise. So a breathing exercise could be helpful. One of the things that I learned that helped me out was a big, deep in-breath. Just a little bit more. And then you let it go slowly and count to 10 while you're releasing. The reason why that breathing exercise helped for me is because I only had to count once. The other breathing techniques where you have to inhale for 4, hold for 4, let go for 4, that was too much counting for me. I'm having a full body episode of stress. That was too much counting for me. But what I could control, when my body was having the full-on episodes, my back's fully arched, my legs are kicked out, and I feel so powerless over my body, what I could control was a big in-breath, a quick little sip of some more air, and then I counted to 10 and released that. And I felt the body continually through that practice release that tension that was holding the arm tight, that was holding the leg tight, that was holding the neck there. Oh, it was there. And maybe the neck didn't come right off. Maybe I had to do that 2 or 3 times, but I have done it and it has worked. So if you or someone you know experiences PNES, that could be something to try. What else could be happening? So I experience tics, like I said. So sometimes I'm not having that full body episode, and sometimes that breathing isn't necessarily what I go to next. Sometimes my tics are quick. Sometimes it goes up and I'm like, oh, there they are. There they are. There went my neck. And so what do I do next? I try to distract myself physically. Get up out of my chair, walk around. Maybe I'll take my dog for a walk. Maybe I'll start clapping my hands, doing something. I tuck my hair behind my ears a couple times sometimes. I try to physically bring myself back to the body, rubbing my hands on my legs, anything that can make my body focus somewhere other than the tic. That doesn't always work. That doesn't always work for me. Grounding techniques can be helpful for some. The 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, I know that works for some folks. 5 things you can see, 4 things you can hear or smell. I don't do this exercise, so I don't know for sure, but I know it's like, it's 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. And you do that exercise intently with as much presence as you can, right? This isn't something you're doing in the background of you stressed about your body doing actions. This is something that you have to try to make sure is your first intention in that brain. I don't know if that made any sense to you guys, but for me, my brain can have 3 conversations at once. And so I can be having a conversation with myself about what is causing me the stress at the same time as doing a breathing technique. And that will not work, because if I'm thinking too much about what is causing the stress, I'm only stressing myself further. I need to step back away from the stress, away from the tics, away from the bodily discomfort. And I need to ask myself to be present in the moment and what is around me. Can I do that breathing technique? One of the things that helped me when I was struggling, a couple months ago was tactile things to play with your hands. You know, one of the things that my partner had was this like little seashell that was full of glitter. And so when I felt the stress and I felt like I needed to move my neck, or I needed to do the little things that my seizures and my tics look like, I would get out that little toy out of my purse and start spinning it around and paying attention to the glitter inside of it. That was just a distraction from the stress. My body felt fight or flight, and I said, no way, we're not in fight or flight, we're watching glitter. We're watching glitter in this little seashell. Yes, we are, Van, and we're going to be okay. One other thing, and I've already kind of mentioned this, but one other thing that helps when I'm feeling the tics coming is removing myself from the situation that I'm in. So one of the things that helped me, I used to work at the mall and I started to experience some tics, and one of the things that would help me in the workspace is literally moving myself to another space in that environment and doing something different. So if I was behind the counter worried about the money, or I was down the hall worried about inventory, then I would pull myself completely away from that task and go out and do something else. Maybe move some clothes around and design an outfit to put on a mannequin. Just trying to make my mind completely separate of the event that triggered the stress and making me feel the fight or flight. Because one of the things that I think really confused me was this idea that the body was in fight or flight and that I could bring it out of it. I think for me I was in fight or flight 24/7 for a very long time, and I didn't know, which is what caused the PNES, the overwhelm of the stress and the anxiety that had sat inside of my body and needed expressed, and it did so through physical action. So what I think is like really important is to allow ourselves to share our stresses out loud, share our stresses physically. Punch in a pillow. When a therapist told me that, I said, are you silly? What? I didn't know people did that. Adults punch pillows? I thought that was a kiddo thing. But if you are so upset and your body is ready to tick out about it, punch the pillow, baby. Because that can prevent you from having tic. That can prevent you from having seizure. And that is what we want. Because our brain learns through practice. Neuroscience. I love neuroscience. It is one of my passions, and I plan to go back to school for it, because the brain is a machine. And if we do the same action every day for 30 days, right? That'll become a habit. So if you're ticking every day for 30 days because of stress, then that might extend, the time that you deal with that. And I'm not saying that to scare you. What I'm saying that for is because little Van, who was 8 months ago, seizing uncontrollably, was so scared that I couldn't get a grip. And what I realized was each and every time I was able to hold a tic, I was doing myself a solid. Each and every time I was able to hold a tic, I was building a new neural pathway that said no more ticking. And every time I hold it, I know I'm going the right way in my brain. That's the way I want to go. And so if you're not somebody who's super into neuroscience, it's all about practice. Our bodies will tic because we are in fight or flight. And then we practice a fight or flight stress mechanism, a release mechanism, and it becomes ticking. And then we have to practice something different. And so if that means that we need to yell into a pillow, if that means that we need to punch our pillow, if that means that we need to go out into the world and say, somebody listen, because I just need to be heard. I'll go to an NA meeting. I'll go to a church. Shoot. I be calling my grandma on a regular basis. That poor woman listens to me talk about stuff. And because I need to talk about it, because if I don't, it'll sit in the body. And how will it express itself? Through tics and through seizure. I think what I want to say here is that the tics don't define you. You're not somebody who is now suffering from PNES and that's your permanent diagnosis. You are not somebody who is defined by the actions that your body takes when you are stressed to the max. This is just a signal from your nervous system that says, I need some extra care right now. I need some extra care right now. And for me, I have to do that very intently on a regular basis so that my body doesn't feel unattended to and then start ticking again. In the next video, I plan to talk more about what to do when you're around other people who have tics, because I've noticed that I get triggered by somebody else who has tics. So one of my friends has a very particular tic, and once it happens a couple times, I notice my body wants to do my own tic. It feels like I have to mirror. And we'll talk more about that in another video, because I know that if you're in a space with someone who is experiencing tics, or even two other folks who are experiencing tics, sometimes we want to mirror, and that can get really confusing, because now all of a sudden we're expressing our stress the same way as the person across the room, and we didn't even mean to do that. So let's talk more on that in my next video. If you liked this, if you learned anything, please give me a like, give me a subscribe. I'm really trying to get 100 subscribers this year. That would be great. And like I said, I plan to make a couple more videos on PNES, because I just feel that there's still so much lack of conversation around this, and especially around healing. Like I said, I do plan to make more videos, because I've been able to decrease my symptoms significantly through just trying to manage the stress that causes it in different ways. And you can do that too. And if you're not suffering from PNES or stress-related tics, send this to somebody who is, because I want them to know, like, those tics don't define you, baby. And we can get them to decrease. It just takes some actions that look different. All right, y'all. Mwah! Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.